Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Jeremy, founder of QuickMail.io.
And this is Jack from Emails That Sell.
Episode 8, and today is a special episode. We are totally unplugged today, and we're going to having a casual talk about a good list versus good copywriting.
Which one's better? Which one's more important?
Which one is it? Jack, what's your thoughts on that?
I have a strong opinion on this topic. Not everyone is going to agree with me. And I think it's a little bit interesting as a copywriter to see this question because we all know the power of compelling copy, but there's more to it than just that. And before I sort of go any further and give away where I'm heading with this, Jeremy, what about you? What's your opening line?
I think we already talked about that in the past, and I think we're kind of agreeing on that, except for probably the number to which they contribute.
Oh, okay. So, all right. So we'll just come out and say it. I think I'm probably, Jeremy and I are pro list over copy, but let's see how much weight we would assign each one.
Yeah, let's discuss that.
Okay. So, but wait, before we go into like the weight, why is that your stance, Jeremy? Why take a good list over a good copy, right?
Yeah, that's probably obvious for me, but if you're contacting, I don't know, restaurant owner and you're trying to sell them, I don't know, dentist equipment, that's just not gonna work. Even for you may have like a super good copywriting for your stuff
right.
But no one will just buy it.
That's true, but that's too easy. Like no one listening is going to sell, dentist equipment to restauranters. So take it a step further. Like let's assume you got an all right list, but really, really good email copy. Why is that not as desirable as the other way around?
All right. So again, a really good list, but a better copy, right?
So a really good list and... Oh, okay. So you're not saying you throw copy in the trash, but you want...
No, absolutely not.
Right. Okay.
Absolutely not. So I think that's interesting because that's definitely the core of, what we're going to discuss. That is like, what is the weight on each? Because here I just like, have been like 180 degree in one direction, which is like, restaurant owner and dentist.
Right.
But obviously there will be some crossover. And at what point, having a bad audience but a good copywriting is the same as having a bad copywriting but a great audience kind of thing, right?
Right. Okay, so I have a short story that I can share from my email copywriting days when I was just a hired gun for writing emails for just traditional email copywriting. So a lot of times I would take on clients who already had a big list but they haven't gotten around to emailing them. So this particular client said, I have this list. There's let's say 1,000 people on it, and I haven't contacted them in 6 months. So we set up a sort of refresher email to just remind people why the heck they were on that list in the first place. And all the email said was, and I'm paraphrasing, but it's, hey, we just got around to kicking off our new email campaign. Back, 6 months ago, you signed up for XYZ. Keep your eye out for, some of these tips coming up. Talk soon. That email didn't sell at all, but it was sent to the right list. And therefore he had dozens of orders come in from that. That was just, it was a hot list that the email was completely not salesy, but it was just top of mind and he got orders from it.
What about let me try to be a devil advocate here. What about the opposite? So imagine something that is sent to you and it's so well written and it's so great and it appeals to exactly all your desire that you suddenly think, shit, I need this thing.
Rare. What would happen most of the time is if you sent me a crazily well-written email and it wasn't a good fit for me, I would just share it on LinkedIn and say, got this cool email today, and I wouldn't buy it or something, or I might I might reply saying, nice job, have a good one. So there is a sweet spot, but I can tell you, if you've got a hot list, you can say nearly, you can get away with a lot of copywriting mistakes and still get a conversation going.
Hey, I got a question here. I'm thinking like, are we arguing from point of like, direct marketing kind of thing? Like, I'm sending this email and they're gonna buy kind of thing. Do you think it's exactly the same rule apply exactly for cold email where our goal is really to start a conversation, not necessarily to sell straight away?
Right. So we're saying like direct response versus cold email
because you actually said, hey, you would reply and say, hey, cool thing. Well, that's the goal of my stuff, right? You start a conversation.
That is the goal of your stuff. You're right.
Episode 2.
Yeah, right. But again, it's productive conversation started, I think. I think that's the key message here. So with that, I mean, the question is it a positive conversation if you get someone to say like, oh, that's really cool?
Yeah, tell me more about it.
Oh, okay. So that's different. So there's one that says, hey, that was a fantastically written email. Have a nice day. And the other is, hey, you blew my mind. Okay, I'll listen. What do you got?
Did you ever get that, hey, that was a fantastically written email? Unless you're targeting copywriter, it's very rare to get those kind of replies, right?
Right. I mean, what I have gotten before is, okay, you're extremely persistent and I appreciate that. Let's hop on the phone. That's something that, has been able to break the ice. I'm thinking, okay, so outside of the cold email world, yes, you can write a sales letter, mail it, send it with, traditional like, send and blast email tools and get someone who doesn't really have a connection with your brand and get them to become a customer. But, it would still have to be the right fit, Jeremy, in order to get me to reply with a desire to continue the conversation with more information. I would have to overlap.
But careful here. Here we have to be careful between talking about the effort it takes to actually get a reply versus the actual number of reply we get. Because, of course, if I'm sending an offer to someone who will never resonate with the offer, then you're not going to get the reply. And then that's an easy one. But what we're really talking here is like you send a shit copy to a good list versus a great copy to a shit list. Because if your great copy is resonating with everyone that is actually fitting this profile, then obviously you're going to get a few responses because your list is rubbish.
Right.
But
right.
To what extent is the opposite true?
I think, yeah, okay. So there's probably a Venn diagram going on where, good copy alone won't get you the results. A good list alone won't get you the results. And then there's an overlap here. So I feel like, okay, so one other diversion before I get into my ratio. There's a story from Gary Halpert, the legendary, right, the starving crowd story. In short, and I'll butcher the story, but it's, he would often do copywriting seminars and he would ask the class, okay, let's imagine we're both going into the hamburger business. You have your business, I have mine, and I'll let you pick any benefit, any advantage you want over my company. And no matter what you pick, as long as you give me my advantage, I'll beat you every day of the week for, until the sun explodes kind of thing. And his advantage that he wanted. And people were asking, okay, I want highest quality meat. I want to be able to offer low prices. I want a good location. And his advantage, what he wanted was a starving crowd. You could sell burgers all day long if you have a starving crowd in front. So I see this as the list building aspect of cold email. It's like if you can build a list of people who, what Perry Marshall calls like a bleeding neck problem, life is easy. You can just, as long as you are speaking with someone who dramatically needs what you have, the sales cycle is going to be really fast and smooth. You'll be walking uphill if it's to a crummy list.
So do you have some experience, or maybe I'm thinking, at what point the copywriting is so bad that even people with a bleeding neck problem will just ignore
I have that. So that's if you're rude.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, if you're rude, forget it. They're going to be like, oh yeah, that guy that guy was annoying, but he did remind me that I got to take care of my accounting or something. And they'll go Google somebody. You'll lose people by turning them off if you're rude or pushy or someone that they just wouldn't like to do business with. I mean, unless you've got the only kryptonite store on the planet, then they're going to go to, find other sources. So it's an interesting question too. And like everyone who's sending cold emails should keep this in mind. It's like, you're not out to sell your good. It's more important that you sell your brand, because likely there's other competitors that can fulfill whatever that is that you're selling. You're selling, for example, not just water, but your Dasani water bottle.
Yeah, that's very interesting that you're mentioning rude, because I was also thinking, and you said it well at the end, it's like you're also selling your brand, which is to some extent also yourself, is trust, and if you do stuff that, drastically reduce the level of trust, then people will, like you say, just go ahead and say, yeah, I got a problem, but let's find a reputable vendor for that.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Let's look at people selling, drugs online. It's like,
sure.
Oh, it's fishy. Let's
find somewhere else.
Find someone else.
Yeah, exactly. So it's now a question. Okay, so I think we can both agree that you have to have somewhat of good copywriting involved. You can't just, send a blank email on an extreme. But I'm curious now that maybe we could talk about the importance of one versus the other.
All right, let's talk math.
Math, yeah. Okay, so we'll call 50-50 is a really boring answer that they both are important. But I have my answer. Do you have yours?
I think you already shared your one with me at some point. I think it was, let me try to guess. I think you said something like 75% needs to be the list, or 90%, something like ridiculously high. And I think I managed to bring you a bit down. Is that something like that?
It's even higher. It's 80-20, man.
Yeah, and I think my one was more into the 60-40 range, because 40 is pretty low anyway. So
yeah, I'm with you, but if you can give me 80% towards my list, it's going to be a really, really good list, really hot list. I'm thinking, and of course, like the sweet spot or when you become a powerhouse at cold email is hopefully when you combine an extremely good list with extremely good copywriting. But for sake of argument, I think if you approached a list that was, incredible, and just mentioned, it was like we had a podcast where we talked about this, the CEO of a tech company that has experienced an outage.
Hot leads.
Right. And he had an outage that, caused him to lose business and probably a few customers. And we went on to talk about, if you happen to be a hosting company who could offer more reliable services, that's a customer that's in need right now of a better host. And even if you sent that CEO a message that was probably like, hey, hosting can be bad.
My name is Jack.
Yeah, right.
I work for company X.
Right. We help.
Could you pass me the right person to talk to?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And it'd probably be like, actually, yeah. And I think that would get the ball rolling. Versus an inquiry.
No, you're right. I think the CEO will pass it to someone and say, hey, check this one out.
Right. Or more likely, it's like, they would probably say like, okay, look into this company. Because if you don't write a good email, they're like, hesitant, but maybe. But you'll probably get checked out. And if your website passes all the tests, you might get a phone call or reply,
Yeah, no, that's totally right. So rather, I think we both then agree that, your list of prospects is what's going to make,
make or break,
your campaign or sequence. But here's the question to you then. How about we list the thing, we mentioned rude and mistrust. How about we list all the deadly things that could actually endanger either part, whether it's list building or whether it's copywriting.
Yeah, okay.
How about that?
Here's a list building no-no. If you have a sales conversation going on with someone at a company and you don't use the blacklists in QuickMail, for example, and you reach out to that same company with like a sales email, it can be taken harshly, especially if you're leveraging other people that you're working with in the space in that sales email. No one wants to get pitched and find out that you're working with competitors probably. So careful who you reach out to, because a lot of times if you're already engaged with a prospect, you certainly don't want to have one of your cold emails get sent to them, because it reflects poorly on your part. It looks sloppy. Definitely.
Did that happen to you?
You know what? It did happen. And it's thankfully completely avoidable now. It just took some do not contact power, and but yeah, this is all chat from experience.
All right. Obviously buying a list, that's like so, said. What else could we find in list? How do you build your audience?
I mean, there's some kind of obvious ones, like, you're not going to want to fake an introduction. I mean, it's possible to build a list using connections that the other person has, but if you come across, I guess that's more copywriting though.
Yeah, I was thinking of that. Also, you may consider, your referral as building your list.
Right, sure. Okay, so list building. Oh, I was talking to a friend about this yesterday, actually. He was saying that he ends up giving his business card out often, and he finds it just really annoying when someone doesn't ask him first if they can like add them to a more traditional email marketing. I know we're talking about cold email here, but if you're going the traditional route, not cold email, that's one list building practice to kind of stray away from. Not let's see. Are we leaving anything out here? Any obvious stuff?
I guess there isn't much. I mean, maybe we should just say why you shouldn't buy a list, an existing list, probably because, your audience has been hammered, constantly already.
Yeah.
I think I read like every month, like 50% of those emails are getting, are not correct anymore, or because people keep changing jobs on average, like once a year or something like that. So every year you lose like 50% of your...
There's what do they call it? It's like email churn.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And the second thing is there is obviously like spam traps. That is like, old email that's been deactivated but reactivated by some other provider just to make sure that no one emails them. And if someone emails them, then it must be a spammer.
Exactly. Okay, so, I mean, there are a lot of pitfalls with list building, though, that don't have to do with maybe breaking any rules per se, just doing a bad job of it. Just kind of casting too wide a net, I think, is the most common one, really. Not doing enough research into, one, the companies that they're going after, and two, the people in those companies. You have another thing. What?
Yeah, I got another one, actually. Contacting people at yahoo.com, hotmail.com,
Nice. Okay.
gmail.com. It's like, dude, it's like personal email that's you're going to very quickly get flagged as spammer, and and then you're not going to inbox anymore. So that's another big
So actually, I've heard this from you and from around a couple different blog posts and stuff, and I've practiced it. But to be honest, I don't know the technical reason behind it. Is it that Gmail has a lookout on this kind of thing, or what?
Well, I'll tell you, this is very simple, is that you're going to, depending on what product you're using, you're going to send email at a certain rate. They're going to verify, they're going to know that's from you. That's the first thing. The second thing, so if you want to do that, then definitely increase the delay between emails to be probably 2, 3, 4 minutes kind of thing, even 5, even more. And the second thing is they're going to pick up that this is the same text you keep on sending.
Right.
Sure, you're going to change the name. Sure, you're going to change 1 or 2 words in it. But globally, this is the same. So, in QuickMail, you use variations to make sure that, you send different emails at different speed and rate so that spam filter don't catch it. But And then the third thing is because, you keep on sending people to gmail.com and then, or hotmail.com, and then those users will flag you as spam,
Right.
and therefore they'll be like, wow, a lot of people, flag them as spam from the same sort of source.
Right.
Then they'll be like, for everyone else is going to be spam. Whether if you do it for one company, that company may flag you as spammer, but it's just one company, right?
Yeah.
And then you're contacting other people. So that's it.
Okay, so it's like you're being closely watched then.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. All right. Anything else on list building? Anything else list building wise for?
I do have one actually. This is a funny one actually. This is not something most people think about. Is that you actually have multiple emails yourself, Jack? Right? How many emails do you have different?
Me, I actually have 3 emails.
Well, there you go. I think you
Yeah.
see where I'm coming from, right?
Right.
So another thing is try to avoid, getting the same people under different emails, because obviously they'll receive the same messages, and that doesn't go
that's
very
good.
well.
Right. So if you're not if you're not careful when you list build, you may end up having the same person on there multiple times.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Which makes sense for a lot of reasons.
Oh! I got another one. Sorry, I keep
Look
on
at
having
this.
some.
No, that's good.
Some no, don't do. Send stuff at like generic emails, like support at XYZ, sales at XYZ, something, because those emails, and it's a very simple reason, those emails will be seen by a lot of people. So if I send one email and 10 people look at it, what are the chances of one of the 10 actually flag me as spammer? Right, much higher. So you want to avoid also sending to general type emails.
No, that's good. That's great. And here's one more thing. Some countries cannot be emailed like cold email. So if you build a list from say
true.
people in Japan, you've got to make sure that you're following their rules, because your list could contain a lot of international people from let's say Japan, who has really harsh cold email laws.
And you don't even need to go as far as Japan. I think in England, if you contact an individual contractor, well, Canada is also something, but in England it's very difficult, because if they're contracting, self-contractor, then you can't contact them. But if they are a company, then you can. So it's very difficult to even make the distinction.
Interesting, right?
Tricky stuff. So yeah, just be aware of where your email comes from in terms of country, because different rules apply.
Be aware, list builders. All right.
Okay. What about? Do we have any other one for list building?
That's it from me right now. I'll chime in if a light bulb turns off.
Awesome. What about the deadly sins of copywriting then?
Dear Sir / Madam.
That's coming from India, right? Okay, it's very stereotyped.
Yeah.
I got so many of that.
But it was, yeah. But no, that's my pet peeve. Come on, guys. Okay, you go. What's one on your end?
Oh, come on. I've been doing a lot of list building.
You're right. Okay. Impersonal. Oh, I can't stand it when someone drops in my company name but adds like comma LLC Inc. period dash. It's like and like that is so obviously not written by a human being. That's a warning sign. I mean, it's so worth combing through your list, guys. Just because there's nothing that signals you just dropped it in randomly, or you don't care to even put together a well thought out email. That goes a long way. If you do that one thing, I think you'll stand out from half the people sending cold emails. Another is call to action. Can we schedule 10 minutes of your time, tomorrow when I don't even know the person?
What's wrong with that? Oh yeah, okay, of course. The value proposition is
it's just like, or even worse than that is like a call to action that's weak, like that's just beats around the bush, and like I would love to discuss if this is something that you are interested in looking into. I hope it is. Period. Get to the point. What do you need? And then really long emails. I don't like those either. If you send me a wall of text, then
Yeah, this one is tricky actually. I also don't think we should do that, and I think the reason for it is the reciprocity stuff. It's like if we really believe this is a human that sends us like 5 pages, like, geez, you spend like 6 hours. I can't just reply yes or no. I'll feel guilty about that.
That's true, but a lot of times I've found, Jeremy, that if it's a wall of text, you can tell quickly that they didn't spend 6 hours writing to me. So
no,
it's
totally. But it could be. Imagine one of your fan, just really want to get to you, and then you reply, and then like putting this whole stuff. It will actually go against it.
That's true. That's different. That's nice.
Because now it will guilt you. Yeah.
Yeah. But I hear what you're saying. You would feel compelled to write back a long one, and
exactly.
I guess
you'll
what
never
I'm
find
saying
time
here,
for it.
Okay, let me clarify. I'm talking about a wall of text that is clearly automated, and they didn't segment, and they didn't customize, and they were lazy. Bullet points, right?
Bullet points, color, fonts, different.
Yeah, right. Buy button now. Yeah.
H1,
or
thing to buy now button.
Right. I don't even like really official sounding unsubscribe links. It doesn't sound natural. It's obvious that, whoever you're sending emails with, well, it's obvious that you just stuck it in to maybe protect yourself as opposed to giving it more thought. I think there's elegant ways to offer an easy unsubscribe way. And, I think that's just a low hanging fruit that everyone can do. Because if you say, if you'd like to, opt out from our business at, whatever, click here. It's so easy not to.
Yeah.
Okay, you got a copywriting.
I got plenty more. Of course, it's like the people, and you must know this one. The people who actually put like 10 links, just so you can actually click on one,
just in case you miss the 9 others.
Yes,
right.
Exactly.
Right.
Please, ramp up my stats.
Yeah.
Click on one link. I give you 10. Please click on one.
Yeah. So subject lines are an easy one because I think this one gets a little bit too internet markety sometimes, where either it's not true, like they'll say something like
RE,
yeah,
colon,
exactly,
even for the first email.
Exactly. Just or forward from a call, something like that, and that's just you'll maybe get me to open it, but I mean. That's
trust. I guess that's it. It's all about trust. If you do something that is breaking the trust in your email, no matter how good your copy is, it's really hard to come back from that.
Right.
So it's the same with masking your links. It's the same with just starting on a wrong foot somehow. It's like trust is gone.
And I have another one. So I've been contacted by a company that will remain nameless, but they sent the same email 4 different times. The email was exactly the same. It was just
I hate that.
Just send, like a day apart of each other, or it was like a week apart, and it was like I was having deja vu in my inbox, and just again, just lazy. We can do a much better job than that, and it's.
I got another one along those lines is the people who say, hey, did you read my email? Hey, did you read my email? Like 6 times. And it's like
5 bump emails.
Exactly.
Yeah. Or even follow-ups that gets progressively angrier with with each message. It's like, did you get my email? And by the last one, it's like, fine, I guess, you're not interested in making money, then,
Be aware this is the last email I will ever send you. And it's like,
great.
and then the worst thing is like when you get, automatically picked up by another team member that say, hey, I'm just picking up on what Jack's been sending you. And it's like, no.
Yeah. I mean, these are all, I feel like such sort of common things or I should say easy things that if you're looking out for them, it's not hard to change up the email copy. It's not hard to, throw a human unsubscribe sentence. It's just, I think we have to keep in mind that human beings are reading these emails, and that they're probably like us. They want to be treated in their inbox the same way we would like to be treated. Which I think goes a long way. I think, I don't know, what would you say, Jeremy? Like 80% of cold emails are just lousy to very, very poor.
that's why we're doing those casts as well. I think a lot of it is just lack of education, right? And I've made those mistakes. You've made some of them too.
Sure.
And it's very easy to look back at it, and then say, actually, this was like a rookie mistake. So
right, I can only say that the main reason why people listening to the cast and ourselves are getting messages that are very robotic and the same email just replied constantly is just a lack of empathy for the recipient. We're not in their shoes. I think it can be boiled down to metrics so quickly that we just sort of see it as solely a numbers game, and we separate ourselves from the actual connection that these emails should be creating. Where it's
and instead of writing for the mass, they should be writing for one single person, and that makes things easier as well.
And also, instead of feeling the need to contact half of the US in a single campaign, I think people would be blown away if they took 10 people and don't even automate it, just for a change, just for a practice. Take 10 people on LinkedIn that you'd love to start a conversation with and write them a unique email. I think you're going to, it's like it forces you to walk in their shoes, so to speak, and it'll get your copywriting gears moving. And I think it's a good exercise to carry on into every email campaign you're part of.
That's awesome. No, I mean, we're more than half an hour already. So how about we wrap up with coming back to the topic about, good list versus good copywriting, and sort of like end up the cast on that. Let's say you have someone that comes to you with, 5% reply rate. Where would you look at, in a priority?
First thing I'm looking at is your open rate. If your open rate is extremely low, then there's no hope for you getting a good reply rate. So
okay, let's say the inbox. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Inbox is out of the way, so we can just focus purely on the reply and not the adjusted reply rate.
Okay, so I'm looking at call to action first and foremost. I would say if you can lower your call to action, you're probably going to increase your replies. Meaning, don't ask for so much at once.
So, Jack, this is funny because now you're talking about copywriting as the first thing you will look at. I got you on that one.
Okay, here's why. The easiest thing to do is tweak your call to action to increase your reply rate. It's hard to build a really hot list, and we talked about that before. But someone just showing up and saying, "Hey, I want to go from 5 to 10 next week." Tweaking your call to action is huge. If you do that, you might get to 10%, but I'll circle back to list building here, and I will say, if you want to go from 10 to 20%, there's a very good chance that segmenting or who you choose to be on your list will get you there, even if you leave your email copy where it is.
I'll definitely agree with that.
So here's a question I have for you, and I know we're sort of wrapping things up, but it's a good exercise. So if someone said, okay, cool, I want to build a better list next time around, and my campaigns have been running at 5% reply rate, how would you help that person know who to target next time?
That's unfair. The list builder type of person and prospecting guy is you. It's not me. So no, it's very simple. I'll shoot you an email and say, "Hey, Jack, can you help this person?"
Sorry. So I'm setting up this sort of question, but in short, I mean it's looking at the replies that you've already gotten, and there's going to be commonalities between the people who have already replied. And then it's a game of, okay, cool. So what are the common traits, and how do we find more of the same? And traits are endless and a whole nother discussion.
Well, we covered them into that cast on how to build hot list.
Exactly. I think it was cast 5.
Yes, episode 5.
So yeah, I mean, but right there, I mean, there's 2 tweaks to both the marketer who likes to who values copy above, and also the marketer who values list building. Those are two tactics from both camps. But again, it's a combination of the two that are going to turn a campaign from good to wildly successful. So I think at the end of the day, be a good list builder, be a good copywriter, and it's sort of a an ongoing effort. That's, part of it.
Yeah, plus I think it was a bit unfair because it's way easier and everyone can have something to say about your copywriting because you could just read it and then just, comment on it. Where, commenting on a list building, it's way harder. It's like, okay, what did you look at? And where did you find those people? And all those sort of parameters. So obviously the quick wins, like you say, is going to be, I mean, that could be the conclusion of the cast. Is like the quick win is looking at the copywriting. But if you really want like substantial reply rate, then you need to look at your list as well.
Yeah, I know. I think that hit the nail on the head there. It's like they come together and yeah, well said.
So 80-20?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, 80-20.
All right, let's agree on that. Thanks, Jack. That was awesome.
Thanks, Jeremy.